Hello, I've got an interesting little combo to look at here for really super ultra light and ultra slim urban EDC. I've recently been kind of re-evaluating what I carry, what I need and what I actually use on a daily basis in urban situations, which is where I spend most of my time, and I suspect most of us are spending a lot of time in urban settings. So I've been looking at the stuff I actually use and need, and this has been a good little option. I really like the Victorinox Classic Allocs or Alocs. This is super slim, tough, durable, looks beautiful, feels beautiful, and it's got a useful, if basic, little tool set. You've got the fantastic small Victorinox scissors. I basically use the Victorinox scissors for cutting my nails, and I might cut the odd thread or something like that out of my kids' clothes. It can be safer than using a knife for very small cutting tasks, and these little scissors are fantastic. With this tool you also get the very small slotted screwdriver, little proddy pokey thing there, and you get a fairly effective little file on the side there as well. On the classic Allocs you also get the tiny, about 3cm little blade there. This is perfectly fine, perfectly functional and serviceable for your likely urban EDC needs, opening, packaging, things like that. If I'm being realistic with myself, that's what I use a little blade for in urban settings. Wouldn't be my first choice for in the woods or doing outdoorsmanship type tasks, but for around a town, that little blade is perfectly adequate. So that's what you get on the classic Allocs. Nothing else. You don't get the scale tools, don't get the fantastic like combo tool that you do on the Rambler, but you get a super light, super slim little package. So that, like I say, that is lacking the scale tools, and it is lacking any kind of Phillips driver really, which Phillips screws are by far the most common screws that I come across. So I thought, well, you can pair something like that, super slim, super light, with this is a wonderful little tool. It's the Orbit Key Multi-Tool version 2. These are about a tenner from Amazon, or thereabouts. I'm in the UK. And this is, I really actually love this little tool. It's brilliant. A single piece of steel makes a really, really decent little pry tool there for opening things like paint can lids. You've got a decently cut slotted screwdriver on there. It's got a sharpened angle bit on here, which is really great for cutting tape on packaging and stuff like that. You have got this little sharpened section on here as well, which is quite sharp. It's quite good. Again, for getting in cutting tape. It can, with a struggle, be used to cut paracord and stuff like that. You get a bottle opener, which again you don't get on the classic Allocs. You get a small file there, which isn't very effective. It's not very rough, but you get a little measure on this side, metric and imperial. Tiny little measuring rulers on there, but these, I have used this for measuring up little screws, bolts, stuff like that. If I'm out buying some stuff and I need to just check the size on some small component, these can be really useful. So it's good that it's on there. And then on the other end you get it looks absolutely tiny, but I've got to say this is a really effective and really decently cut little Phillips screwdriver on there. Because of the shape of the tool, you can get some really excellent torque on this thing, and these two together makes an absolutely fantastic little combo. I think really good, really light, really slim, looks quite nice in the metal finish. I carry this kind of set up in my pocket on one of these what are they called, fishing lanyards. It's a coiled steel cable in here. I clip one end onto a belt loop, drop the other end in my pocket. I can't lose these out of my pocket then. So that's a good way to carry. So on its own, a classic Allocs is, let's call it 17 grams. The Orbit Key Multi-Tool version 2 is 12.4 grams. So together, that's 29 grams. And this little combo, I think it works really, really well for urban tasks. Been dead happy with that over the last few days, or a variation on it. So what I've actually been doing is I swapped out that classic Allocs for well, this is actually basically a signature model, which Victorinox have discontinued. But I've taken like a classic SD, which you can get on Amazon as of kind of April 2025 for sort of 17-18 quid. The price of the classic SD seems to change all the time. I think what you're missing, or what I miss from this tool, any of the Allocs tools, you don't get the scale tools. So with this signature model, classic SD with the pen scale added, I like to have the toothpick, so I've got the toothpick, and I think it's really handy on occasion to have a pen with me. It does often catch me out how often I need a little pen to just jot something down quickly if I'm out and about. So you've got a pen in there. If you kind of slide out the little screwdriver tip, it's quite comfortable to write with. Much better in use, the pen on the 58mm models with this little mechanism, than the pen you get on the 91mm knives, which sits in that scale there and you have to take it out, and if you're holding it like that, it's incredibly difficult to use. I know there's ways to support it using the back scale tools and whatever, but yeah, the pen's genuinely much more useful in the 58mm models. So yeah, that equips me with all the same tools on the classic Allocs. Also gives you either the toothpick or the tweezers and a pen in there. Yeah, so like I say, Victorinox have discontinued the signature model, so you can't buy them in this format, but if you have got a classic SD and you want the pen, then you can buy the pen scales, the plastic slider mechanisms, the refill pens, and as I say, the scales that take the pen slot as well. You can buy all those things off of the likes of Etsy or eBay. There are people selling just the sliders for like £4 on Etsy. There are people selling the sliders with the pen for sort of £8-9, I believe, on Etsy or eBay. And there are folks selling pen scales, the sliders and the pens as well on Etsy in sets for like sort of £14-15, I believe. So it makes it quite expensive to then obtain a signature model. But yeah, I think that is a really fantastic combo for Urban EDC. My all-time favourite perfect pocket EDC urban multi-tool is the Manager, which you can't buy anymore. I have got a few of those, but the closest equivalent is the Rambler, and with the Rambler you get the pen blade, the little scissors, the screwdriver and file tool, the slot for the scale tools, the tweezers and the toothpick, and you also get this absolutely fantastic, one of the best tools Victorinox ever designed, I think, this combo tool with a bottle opener, wire stripper and this wonderful little Phillips driver. So useful. Can't tell you how many hundreds of times I've used this for opening kids' toys, battery compartments, stuff like that. It is brilliant, this tool. You get that tool as extra on the Rambler over the classic SD, and with the Manager you get one of the scales as a pen slot, same as on this knife here. So why not just carry the Rambler? Well, yeah, I often do. Rambler or the Manager are fantastic, almost perfect knives. But the bonus that you get with carrying the Orbit key, and I really do like this, very sturdy slotted screwdriver, very sturdy Phillips driver. You can, like I say, apply a ton of torque with these. I've got the cutty bit there, bottle opener. I have used this as an experiment to try and open a can as well, a can of tuna. It's bloody hard work, but it will work in a pinch. So the advantage of carrying this, for me, is that it's a really nice, single, very sturdy piece of steel that I found myself just reaching for, and because there's nothing else to do, literally take it out of your pocket, it's ready to use, and I found myself using this loads, cutting packaging tape, stuff like that. So to combine that, and then it is nice to have a little blade as well, and a little pair of scissors as well. So the slimmest, lightest way to get that, I thought, was the classic Allocs or Allocs, but I do sometimes use a pen, and you can guarantee that if I do go out without a pen, that's the time I'll need one. So having the pen slot on the classic SD is brilliant. So I think that's a really nice combination. Classic SD, well, I suppose it's a signature model, that weighs 21 grams, so together 34 grams for those two together, nice and light. Rambler on its own is 29.6, let's call it 30 grams. And here's a customized Manager I've got there, that's 31.5 grams. So yeah, just looking at other options really, for really discreet and useful urban carry. If you're nipping into a place where you're not allowed to carry a knife or any kind of bladed item whatsoever, even a blade as small as that, if you don't want to risk upsetting anyone by carrying that, just whip it off your keychain and you've still got that, which is undeniably a dead useful little chunk of metal. Really well thought out and well designed. So I don't know, what do you reckon to that combo? Or would you just stick with a Rambler? Or a Manager if you're lucky enough to have the absolute goat of them all, the Manager. Let me know what you think. Yeah, that's been working well for me over the last few days. Quite like it. Good combo. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying the content, a like and a subscribe would be massively appreciated. Thanks very much. Cheers. Adios, amigos and amigas.